Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and this time it's with the Fantastic Four. Like Superman, the wait for this movie was a long one, but it's finally over. This movie was my second most anticipated movie of the year, right behind Superman, of course. So my expectations for this film were very high. From what I've seen, a lot of people are loving this movie. Some people I personally know went as far as giving this movie a 10 out of 10. But me personally, I don't love it as much as everyone else. In fact, when the credits were rolling, I felt a little disappointed. I don't think I can talk about this movie without spoiling, so I'm gonna give you a quick spoiler warning. If you haven't watched this film, please go do so. Don't get me wrong, I think this is a very good movie, and I absolutely adored a very large part of this film. The Fantastic Four are characters that are very important to me and to a lot of people. So getting these characters right was crucial to this movie's success. And as we all know, the Fantastic Four don't exactly have the best track record when it comes to this kind of stuff, but it's actually kind of understandable. The Fantastic Four have had a lot of writers over the years, and apart from a few core character traits, they can be pretty different depending on what you're reading. And frankly, pun intended, in this movie, for me personally, they pin the tail on the donkey. Reed is the scatterbrained, cocky genius who genuinely believes he can do anything and is haunted by his past mistakes that turned his family into what they are now. Sue is the heart and soul of the team. She's the loving wife, the protective older sister, and the compassionate friend of the group. Johnny, who, in my opinion, is the easiest to fuck up, is a hot-headed goofball that sometimes lacks a little bit of maturity, but he always means well and in reality has a heart of gold. And Ben is the complex, gentle giant that we all know and love. They absolutely nail everyone's character traits, their origin story, and most importantly, their relationships. The entire cast do a stellar job at making you feel like these four have genuinely known each other their entire lives. They feel like an actual family, which for me personally was the most important part that they needed to get right. And they really couldn't have done a much better job. Everyone has a moment with everyone. Ben and Johnny mess with each other in a very loving way like two brothers. Sue and Reed are a long-time married couple with incredible performances from Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby. Sue is a supportive older sister when Johnny's trying to decipher the Silver Surfer's language. I could go on, and I truly applaud everyone who worked on this movie for clearly taking the time to get these characters right and giving them the loving care that they deserve. The only thing I think they could have done better is exploring Ben a little more. My favorite Fantastic Four member jumps back and forth between Johnny and Ben quite a bit, so I'm glad Johnny was so good in this, but I think they could have given Ben just a little more spotlight, because if you look at the whole movie from afar, he doesn't have much impact at all. Reed, Sue, and Johnny all do very important shit in order to defeat Galactus. Meanwhile, the most important thing Ben did is take down a building. So hypothetically, if I could change anything about these characters, it would probably be that. Apart from the Fantastic Four, Julia Garner absolutely kills it as the Silver Surfer. And this is not a complaint, but I left that theater wanting a lot more from her. They do a really good job at exploring her character and her motivations, despite not having all that much screen time. And they also make her look like the coolest character of all time. She easily has the sickest action sequence in the entire movie. When they are in space, and she is chasing the Fantastic Four down to get Franklin, they took the name Silver Surfer very seriously. She rides a fucking lava wave. She rides the cosmos. I don't even know how to describe it, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Because I was losing my shit during that entire sequence. And it is not only one of my favorite action sequences in the entire MCU, I think this is outright one of the best action sequences in the MCU, period. And speaking of best in the MCU, Galactus. He was done well, he was big and he was daunting. Ralph Ineson's voice is absolutely perfect for him. All around, really good stuff. But I'll dive a bit deeper into Galactus later because that's not really what I'm talking about when I say best in the MCU. CGI in this movie is a fucking achievement. I think this movie looks really good. Before, the best CGI we got in the MCU pretty clearly came from Thanos. And I personally think Galactus comfortably tops it. Space sequence aside, Silver Surfer also looks really damn good. And it's not just the CGI, this is the best looking MCU movie by far. The retro-futuristic New York looks really damn cool, and you can tell they put a lot of care into the cinematography, which for the MCU, that usually isn't the case. So again, It makes me really happy to see this movie look so good. Although, with that being said, the MCU has some major green screening problems. Silver Surfer's flashback looked a little weird, and when Franklin was crawling on Galactus' hand, that also looked a little off in my opinion. And I don't know why this happens so much in MCU movies specifically, but I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Most of this movie looks great. Now, most if not all positive things I have to say about this movie happened during the first hour and 30 minutes of the film. And if it stuck the landing, I think I would have comfortably put this movie in my top 5 MCU. But unfortunately, the final act of this movie really lost me. In fact, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that the final act of this movie is, in my opinion, poorly written and outright bad. For me, it starts going downhill as soon as Johnny has his talk with the Silver Surfer. After their talk, she fucks off to who knows where, and then Galactus arrives. This is where the movie starts trying to get the viewer to feel a sense of hopelessness, showing the Fantastic Four doing everything they possibly can to stop Galactus from getting Franklin, yet not being able to even put a scratch on him. And they convey this feeling well, and I remember thinking to myself, wow, so Galactus really does consume their Earth.
That's crazy.
But then they switch up, and Sue channels her mom powers, and she starts overpowering Galactus, and she pushes him for like 10 fucking minutes across the city and into their teleporter. And I get that seeing her son get taken away is helping her tap into a power that she wouldn't usually have. But I'm sorry, that is way too convenient and bullshitty, and even if it wasn't, they dragged this shit out for so goddamn long. I felt like I was watching a One Piece fight, where one punch takes up 10 fucking minutes of an entire goddamn episode. Like, couldn't we have put him a little closer to the teleporter so it's not just Sue doing this for 10 minutes straight? Well, whatever, because during those 10 minutes of pushing time, they switch up again, and Galactus starts to get up. But then Ben comes in and takes down the building he was grabbing onto, and he starts getting pushed again all the way into the portal. And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I don't agree with Sue overpowering Galactus, and the fight is a little messy, but it's not that bad. Oh wait, no, they switch up again, and Galactus starts getting out of the portal, and it's looking like Johnny is gonna sacrifice himself. So now I'm thinking, oh wow, still very messy, but hey, what a cool character moment for Johnny. Joseph Quinn had a chair in Doomsday though, so I know he's not gonna die. I wonder what they're gonna do with his character. Maybe they do like a negative zone thing, or nope. The Silver Surfer, who has been off screen ever since her talk with Johnny, which was like 20 fucking minutes ago, just in a span of 3 seconds, zooms in out of nowhere, she knocks Johnny out of the way, and she cracks Galactus in the face, turning on him and getting him into the portal. Like, what? Sure, I think her motivations to turn on Galactus are earned, but why is she off screen for so long? There's just a very clear lack of direction, and I didn't know where we were going. First, we're teleporting the Earth, then we're not. Then we're teleporting Galactus. Then we're not. Then we are, because Sue is now conveniently strong enough to push Galactus across the city, but then we're not. And then we are again, because Ben takes down the building. Then we're back to not. And then we are. And then it appears like Johnny's gonna sacrifice himself, but nope, that's not happening either because of the Silver Surfer. Like, Jesus Christ. This ending gives me whiplash every time I think about it. Going from we are, we're not, we are, we're not the whole time, and it really took me out of the movie. But believe it or not, that's not even the part that bothered me the most. What bothered me the most is when they fucking kill Sue. I don't care that you've been telling me the entire time that Franklin is this all-powerful baby the entire film. This is just unnecessary. I know she's not dead, and I know Franklin is about to do some crazy shit. So when she does miraculously come back to life, I can feel my face scrunch up because this is just bad. This is a cheap and poor way of showing off Franklin's powers. Galactus wanting him is more than enough to get people interested in him and what type of power he holds. And I think banking on that going into Doomsday would have been much better than doing this whole, oh, she's alive bullshit. It left me not wanting more from Galactus, and I think that is something I shouldn't feel. Like I said before, I want to see more of Silver Surfer in the future. Or, well, let me rephrase that. I need to see more Silver Surfer in the future. But Galactus, on the other hand, I think they juiced him for all that he's worth, which in this case was kind of just eye candy. And some people will say that's enough, and I agree to an extent, but I also think this movie should have left me wanting to see more of Galactus in the future. And that's just not the case. But anyways, let me take a breath. That's really all the negatives I have on this film, or well, at least the major ones. Anyways, setting the movie aside for a bit, the end credit scene is probably one of the best post-credit scenes we've gotten in a while. And it gives us a pretty good idea of where Doomsday is headed. In the post-credit scene, we see Dr. Doom in the Baxter building, seemingly trying to take Franklin. It is implied that this Doom is from Earth 828, because during the introduction of the Fantastic Four, when they show the making of the Future Foundation, we see that Latveria's seat is empty, which is a small detail that I really like, because even though it's a very quick little Easter egg, I think it conveys Doom's hatred for the Fantastic Four in a very simple and effective way. So where's Doomsday headed? I believe Doom is gonna want Franklin's power, so he's gonna capture him and flee to Earth 1999-99. The Fantastic Four will obviously follow, and that explains why they showed up during the post-credit scene in Thunderbolts. There, they will likely need the Avengers' help, and I mean, they're probably gonna help since this guy stole a child. It's nice to have some sort of idea where Doomsday's going with everything, but I will say this movie has a lot of ground to cover. Not only do you have to fully introduce Doom, we have not seen a lot of the characters that have been confirmed for this cast in a very long time. So they're gonna have to tell us what they've been up to this entire time. They're also probably gonna have to explain why Doom looks like Tony Stark, unless they just don't show his face. And most importantly, the thing that I have no idea what they're gonna do with is the X-Men. By that point, there's going to be a lot of characters you're going to have to explain, and I don't know, I think this movie is going to be a complete mess. But you know what? I trust the Russo brothers, and I'm going to let them cook. And hopefully, we get something pretty good. With all that being said, I do really like Fantastic Four. I think the first 3/4 of this movie are very strong and potentially top 5 MCU material. And I think this movie's post-credit scene is very exciting, and I believe it'll keep people interested for the future of the MCU going forward. But endings are really big for me, and they really dropped the ball with this final act. I thought it was so cheap and poorly written, so for that reason, I'm giving Fantastic Four First Steps a 7.5 out of 10. Although I will say, on rewatch, I actually ended up bumping Superman up to a 10 out of 10. Crazy, I know. So when I do rewatch this movie and I have an idea of where everything is going, I'll probably bump it up to an 8. But for now, I'm at a 7.5.